We're actually like banned here from here for a while, though, right?
Yeah, we couldn't play anymore because we signed to a major label,
Yeah.
and there's this kind of a rule of no major label bands. Everything's got to be indie DIY.
Did that feel kind of weird?
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
Was it?
Yeah, it was just like kind of lost like like your home.
In the punk scene, so many would risk everything they could just to be accepted by their local community. But what happens when the community you worked so hard to become a part of suddenly shuts you out? This is the story of 86. Also, the channel is almost at 2K subscribers, so please subscribe, I appreciate you guys, and let's get into this. Most Green Day fans know about their infamous departure from the Gilman Street scene in 1993. After all, it was a very pivotal moment in their career, one that could have possibly broken other punk acts at this time. But not too many know just how serious the situation was. So to fully understand the magnitude of this whole incident, you have to take a look back at how Green Day became a part of the Gilman scene to begin with. Green Day first performed at Gilman Street in November of 1988 under their previous band name, Sweet Children, only playing a show as Green Day on May 28th of the following year, opening for one of their biggest inspirations at the time, Operation Ivy, who was also from the Gilman scene. And for them, playing Gilman was a rite of passage. It was something that marked your acceptance into the scene, something that singer Billie Joe Armstrong had said was a goal that he had aspired to reach as soon as he formed a band. But there are still some questions that need answering. Firstly, what was Gilman Street? 924 Gilman Street was a non-profit all-ages music club, specifically with a punk focus, located in Berkeley, California, a place where supposedly everyone was accepted. But as with a lot of self-proclaimed accepting communities, it's not long before the cracks start to show, and it becomes clear that the community will only accept what's acceptable to them. Both Billie Joe and Mike Dirnt had stated that the Gilman community was one of the closest things to a family they had at this time. So you could only imagine just how much it stung for them to get banned from the one place they felt they belonged. But what did Green Day do that was so bad that they had to be banned from a community that was supposed to accept everyone? They were forced with a decision. A decision that, in my opinion, shouldn't have had to sever their relationship completely. But there is a lot of hypocrisy in the punk scene, and so, claiming to be anti-establishment, they in turn became one. I have a video on my channel that talks about the Gilman incident, so check that out, I'll link it below. But for now, I'm going to give y'all the abridged version. So in 1993, after Green Day released their second album, Kerplunk, the year before, they had started a buzz within their local scene. They were only 2 albums in and were already showing a lot of potential because, no diss to the 90s punk scene in Berkeley, but Green Day were writing songs that could have come from a Beatles album, putting a lot of attention into the songwriting and instrumentation of each track. Something that would be praised by anyone who just enjoys good songwriting, but something that was kind of looked down upon in the Gilman scene. Gilman Street co-founder Tim Yohannan had said that he never really liked Green Day from the beginning, saying that they were too pop for punk, so that kind of already set them up for failure in that scene. But that's ironic because he was the one claiming to be accepting of everyone, when in reality he was all that was wrong with the punk scene at this time. Because it's basically run by a bunch of elitists and gatekeepers. The hypocrisy there is not lost to me. And famously, in the Green Day fanbase, a few songs were written about Tim, including Platypus I Hate You and Haha You're Dead, which I mentioned in the video that I linked in the description. But 86 isn't about Tim exclusively, it's about the entire Gilman scene. To be 86th is quite literally to be vehemently banned from something. And in this situation, Green Day was banned because they broke one of the most important rules in the Gilman scene. No signing to major labels. In the months leading up to Green Day's eventual signing with Reprise, the band had made sure not to talk much about it within the scene. But I'm pretty sure people were putting 2 and 2 together at this point, because it was pretty obvious that Green Day were going to be big. But it's also important to remember that this was a very big risk on Green Day's part. because a few punk bands before them had signed to major labels, but they weren't received well by the mainstream, and due to the no major labels policy, they weren't accepted back into the community they came from. So their career was basically ruined. Something that with social media today would probably be easier to navigate, but back then there were little to no options when you'd already crossed the line. So along with knowing that their community would out them after this decision, they also probably felt the pressure of a potential commercial flop on top of that. Again, on the topic of social media, if Green Day had come out during the rise of the internet, they could have reached their level of success without a major label support, but in the 90s, the only way to get your music out was either to know the right people or sign to a major label. Green Day did what they thought was best for the band, and to think if they hadn't, albums like Dookie, Nimrod, and certainly Insomniac wouldn't exist. Now, let's look at the lyrics, because they are one of the only things we have in regards to understanding what they were feeling at during this time. Verse 1. The first line sets the scene of a person returning to what they once thought was safe, but now they're being turned away. Something that, yeah, it stings, and I don't really want to think about how I would deal with that if that had happened to me. But, we'll see as it goes along that Green Day really aren't so bitter about this anymore. The line, "You'll never find it now, it's buried deep with your identity." This is saying that the punk identity that Green Day had once had is now dead to the Gilman scene. Not saying that Green Day aren't punk because they signed to a major label, just saying that those in the punk scene kind of regarded them as sellouts. Green Day haven't said much about what it was like for them in Berkeley after the news got out about their major label signing, but Billie Joe had said that he had been physically attacked at one point. And after reading NoFX's biography, I have a lot to say about the punk scene as a whole. Because as much as there was good ideals, such as doing everything yourself, there was little to no order within the community, and gang violence was way out of control. So doing something like signing to a major label was more dangerous than people think. Your life could possibly be at risk. This is just another reference to them being kicked out of 924. Then the chorus comes in, repeating "There is no return" from 86. Green Day were enough a part of the Gilman scene to know that this was a serious issue. They knew that as soon as they were out, there was no going back. Verse 2. The scene wanted them gone, or so it's depicted in this song, and I can only imagine how much it would suck to be completely rejected by the people you considered family. But surprisingly, I haven't found too many interviews with Green Day talking negatively about Gilman. It's like they've accepted it and now look back at it fondly. After this, the lyrics just repeat again, because this is a punk song. It's short, fast-paced, and to the point. A stylistic choice on Green Day's part that I know was an open response to the poser label that the community had pinned on them. Now, most Green Day fans also know that Green Day eventually returned to Gilman, but it literally took 21 years. So we'll talk a bit more about the reason for the return. So in 2015, they were invited back on May 17th to play a benefit show for people who had been affected by fires in West Oakland. I think it's important to know that the members of Green Day had played Gilman while band, just in other side projects, like Pinhead, Gunpowder, and so on. So they had played Gilman in that sense, but not as a band, not as Green Day. And I think that if it wasn't for the fact that it was a benefit show, and for the fact that most of the people who made the original no major labels rule had probably passed away at this point, Green Day most likely wouldn't have ever returned. But if you actually think about it, Green Day was the biggest thing that came from Gilman. So I think Gilman needed Green Day as much as Green Day needed the Gilman community. As of today, Green Day is no longer banned. In fact, they recently were interviewed in the building and had nothing but good things to say about it. So I think now any bad blood between Green Day and the community has washed over. So that's it. Thank you for getting this far in the video. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you or not see you in the next one. Adios.